Hello and welcome. Yesterday, the news spread that Ngelali, the presidential spokesperson, has resigned. And later, we got to hear that it wasn't a resignation, that it was a sack. After which he pleaded to have a soft landing. Then he was allowed to say he had resigned on medical grounds. Whether it's resignation, sack, or whatever, I saw it coming. I saw it coming. And I will tell you how. This is the guy that announced the president's departure to China. And you know that these people, in this administration particularly, they are just behaving like angry dogs that is just hitting their teeth all over the place looking for who to bite. And I feel this guy was caught in the crossfire. Maybe he exposed too much, maybe he said too much, but I think it may have been a combination of a lot of factors that didn't just start with his announcing the president's movement to China.
People,
I have watched Ngelali,
media and publicity,
though the young
Ajuri
guy
Ngelali
has
says the president
made names for himself.
Site visits to two major Chinese corporations, that's Huawei and Technologies, as well as the China Rail Construction Corporation. This, according to him, is with a view to achieve one of his top agenda items, which is the completion of the Ibadan to Abuja segment of the Lagos to Kano high-speed rail line. President Tinubu will meet 10 selected chief executive officers of 10 major Chinese corporations with assets totaling over $3 trillion across multiple sectors of the economy.
His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu will depart for the People's Republic of China, most specifically Beijing, from the nation's capital within the first week of September to engage in a series of meetings and activities with immediate and future benefit to the Nigerian economy and the Nigerian people. Mr. President will conduct site visits to two major Chinese corporations, Huawei Technologies, as well as the China Rail and Construction Corporation, CRCC. This is with a view to achieve one of Mr. President's top agenda items, which is the completion of the Ibadan to Abuja segment of the Lagos to Kano high-speed rail line.
He used to work for an international news agency. And you know, when this administration started, they were actually looking for faces, people that will give, as in, that will make the brand, the Tinubu brand, not just formidable, appealing to the public. And that's when this guy came in. I think that's when this guy came in. When they started, I also looked at people like Betta Edu, this Ngelali, the Minister for Youth, with whom we have not seen much of, and a few youthful people that they put in the administration. I saw them as those who are going to bear the torch light for this administration. At the same time, there is this generational gap, barriers between understanding of those who have brought them into the administration and those who I would say have been in this game and power play before bringing these young minds into that administration. So the gap between this other first group that I talked about, those that have been in the power play, those that are advanced in age, and this other group that seem to be younger and not so much in the know as to how these things have been. So you will notice that generational gap, which have played a greater role in the experiences of these young people in Tinubu's administration. I wouldn't say that these young minds have really enjoyed their stay in those places. because they found themselves in the midst of people who have mastered the game. You know, when they talk about mastery of the game in the Nigerian politics, it's not like these people are experienced in navigating the life of the Nigerian people positively, but just that they're experienced in using people as ladder to their ambitions. Now, we saw this tussle when that administration started, when they were picking their cabinet. It was a matter of who is who that have at one time or the other helped the president, either from Lagos State, from the component parties that made up the merger that brought Buhari, majorly from Lagos State, whom we can call the Lagos boys. You saw that tussle first with Alake, Dele Alake, who now is the Minister of Solid Minerals, and Ononuga, who felt like he was going to be Mr. President's right-hand man, and then with Ngelali, who is said to have been brought in by Tinubu's son. What advantage did Ngelali have over these other ones that would have made him secure the position he secured, that he was even able to stay to this point? So when I tell you that I saw it coming, I knew that this guy hasn't been in their caucus. He hasn't been in their type of game. I saw the struggle with which he announced all that he did concerning the president's journeys, activities, and programs. We also saw the conflicts, the conflicting and messaging, the conflicting messaging between this same guy and Ononuga. And then before I come back to why he may have made it to this point, there was this time when that cabinet is being formed, when Alake and Ononuga fell out because of this same Ngelali, and it was more like compensating all that's hurt to bet the Tinubu brand of presidency, because we all know that Tinubu did not merit the position he's occupying. One can give it to him that he has worked so hard to institute himself for this number of years. One will also agree that he had an agreement with Buhari to take over whenever he stopped his tenure. But there had to be an election. And in that election, it was a huge fight. And the people involved helped him to some extent to grab the power. When he says power is not served a la carte, it simply means that a lot will be involved, and it's going to be a mix of a lot of things that are not just grabbing the election results. It could be also all the mixes of Twitter battles, media battles that came up during that election, for which Ononuga played a huge role, which Abbas, the House of Rep leadership, played a role, which Alake played a role. A mix of all the offensives they threw within those times of the elections, just to make sure that they come into power, because these people know that if we don't clinch this position, we will be out of the game. I remember that the Kano State former governor, who now is the APC chairman, the dollar man, the Ganduje, had said that if we don't do anything, these people are going to give us a run. We're all going to go out of power, and they will. They will. It's just a matter of time. They will. They're gradually cycling out, and they will all cycle out, either by elections or with time. But the Nigerian people will give them a run. So it was a whole lot of mix, and it was compensation time. So who is going to be fixed in the limited seats of Mr. President? You will realize that Mr. President went ahead to expand his cabinet, even after they copied some mandates of some political parties saying they will cut down the cost of governance. And one of the typical ways to achieve that is to cut down the cabinets of Mr. President. So, but it was our turn, and we all have to be on the table. So these people were all brought in, and Ngelali was in the mix. So coming to that question as to how he was able to find his way in the midst of these hawks surrounding power. The information we have is that Tinubu's son played a role. He had met Ngelali, who also helped them secure an interview with his then media house. And it was also a matter of packaging this administration. So with the help of Mr. President's son, Ngelali came into the cabinet. But the hawks couldn't let this guy breathe. All this while, he's been battle upon battle. And I remember when Ngelali came on national TV to say that he doesn't have any tussle with Mr. Ononuga, and that he was a father to him, and that he was raised to respect his fathers, and that he hadn't even started his journey as a journalist when Ononuga started.
I've been really saddened by some of the commentary attempting to create confusion and division within the office of the president with respect to my humble self and a very respected elder colleague in the person of Mr. Bayo Onanuga. I want to be very clear that when I was somewhere in primary school, Mr. Onanuga was risking his life on the streets of Lagos against murderous oppressors, defending the right of Nigerians to be able to vote for their leaders. Anybody thinking that they can create an impression that I see myself as on par or on level with somebody of the stature of Mr. Bayo Onanuga, that I'm competing with him, that I'm antagonizing him in any way, somebody that I revere and respect to the utmost, that conversation should stop. When I was sitting at the foot of my father in his parlor growing up, he told me, any wise son who wants to live long will never disrespect his fathers and his elders. That's how I live my life.
All right, then. All these sentiments are not really what is needed when people need to work. We look at your credentials and your relevance at the moment. So after the whole tussle, I knew when people start giving such clarifications, there might be more to it. And he patched it up and patched it up, trying to please these people, and it wasn't working. You know, the tussle between staying professional and doing the biddings of those who brought you into the mix will be an issue. And I think he may have beaten more than he can chew and got displaced. One thing with these people, hawks around power, is that they can set you up when they don't want you in their midst. They will keep laying the trails until you are caught in it, and there will be an official backing to tell you to leave. Now, this guy has been told to leave for someone who has been hanging around, squatting around that office, hoping that it will still be his turn. You know, our turn. It will have to be bit by bit. You do 1 year, I go do 1 year. The other person will do 1 year until the 4-year tenure is over. I also pity Betta Edu with the story. It's so unfortunate and heartbreaking that the youthful population among the people in this cabinet haven't been ending well. And it doesn't speak well about their careers. That is one thing about wanting to have it at all costs. It is better to wait to get in when it is your type than just have it whenever and get rubbished. When the Betta Edu situation happened, I shook my head. Why? Because I know that she may not be the only one involved, but she bore the brunt. This guy now is bearing the brunt. Somebody who has built a career all these years and now finds himself in the midst of people who were never meant to taste power, who were never meant to be in the corridors of power. He may have been forced to do it their own way. He may have been forced to go against the ethics of the job. He may have been forced to keep face, whereas it is against his dream as a young person. For me, I'm not feeling bad that Ngelali left. I feel it is a positive to him. But my concern is, how did he leave? Will he be able to rebuild what is left of his career, having been in the top echelons of the workings of a place or country he called his own? Will he be able to also get back to where he was when they took him up? Every opportunity may not be for you. Every opportunity may not be that one that will get you right on track. And for every young person in Tinubu's administration, watch your back. Watch your back. Because you are in the midst of people who will either corrupt you or corrupt you, if you understand what I mean. They will either mess you up or get you finished. And you have to be pulled into the barrage of unethical behaviors that they put up for leadership. And most times with this generational gap, in the midst of people who don't understand leadership, that tussle will be there. It's just like at home when you meet parents that do not realize that there is a gap between them and their children, both in understanding, approaches, times, there will be that regular tussle. So is it in every organization. I think some time ago I talked about the Generation Z. There is the Alpha and there are more generations coming. Now, those Gen Zs are going to shape the nature of work very soon. Already things are changing from what it used to be. And every administration, employer, employee that do not prepare themselves for the realities of these generational differences will experience situations like this. I feel that it is to the interest of Ngelali that he leaves, and that very early. That very early. Ononuga can now have a seat and continue heating up Mr. President's tenure. Ciao. Thank you so much for listening.